In this video, I'm going to show you how to hack every version of the PSP using the Ark4 custom firmware and Infinity 2. So the PSP is nearly 20 years old at this point, and that being said, there has been so much fun stuff that has come out for this system in that time period. A modified PSP was really a big point in my own personal gaming history with homebrew and emulation, and as such, it holds a pretty special place in my heart. So if you happen to have a PSP lying around and would like to do some fun stuff with it, it is really easy to get custom firmware installed on this guy, and today I'm going to be demoing that with the Ark4 custom firmware with Infinity 2 to make it a permanent install. So let's go ahead and dive in. For our physical item requirements, we are going to need a model of PSP. So for today's demo, we're going to be using this PSP 2000, but this will work on every single model of PSP, including the PSP Go. Then you will also need a USB cable to connect your PSP to a computing device of choice to transfer files. So I am using PSP 2000, so I need a mini USB cable. And then of course the PSP Go will have its own dedicated USB cable that comes with it. And then lastly, you'll need to have a memory stick for your chosen PSP model. So again, Memory Stick Pro Duo or Memory Stick, whatever the frick it was called for the PSP Go. So for today, we're using just this 8 gig Memory Stick Pro Duo. So I'm just going to get that memory stick inserted into the PSP 2000. Maybe. It's hard with one hand. There we go. And for that PSP model, you also need to make sure that it is on system firmware 6.60 or 6.61. So you can go into the system settings and go to the system information screen to see what version you are on. So this one is on 6.60, so it is good to go. But I'm going to do a quick demo on how to update your firmware if you want to go up to 6.61. So I'm going to go ahead and get my PSP hooked up to my computing device. Just plug that in up here somewhere. There we go. And there we go. And then just get the USB mode enabled. Perfect. And there are numerous links to various system updates for the PSP. So I'm going to be borrowing the ones from PSP Punk here. And they have updates for 6.60 for the 1000, 2000, 3000 Street and PSP Go, as well as 6.61 for 1000, 2000, 3000 Street and PSP Go. So I'm just going to grab the one for 6.61 and tell it to download. So now I'm just going to open up my PSP's memory stick. There we go. Inside the PSP folder, you'll find a game folder, and we're going to create a new folder in here and name it Update. And we're going to drag that 661.pbb right inside. And once there, just rename this to eBoot. Perfect. So now we can go ahead and disconnect our PSP from the computer. And on the PSP itself, head up to System Update. Tell it to update via storage media. It'll tell you that it has found the latest update data, so just press OK. So just tell it to start the update. Scroll through. Accept the terms. And then press cross to begin. And if your battery level is below 80%, you may get a warning telling you that your battery level is too low, so you just kind of have to wait for it to charge and then try again. Another option for bypassing the screen is to hold L plus triangle when starting the update, but then just let the update proceed as normal. And once the update is completed, just press cross to restart the PSP. And there we go, PSP system version 6.61. But now that we're on the latest version, gonna get this set up to get custom firmware ready. So we're just gonna enable that USB connection again. So now that we know our PSP is on the right firmware, we just need to download the latest version of Ark4 to install custom firmware on it. So link to Ark4 will be in the description below. Just grab the latest release by scrolling down to the bottom and clicking on the ark4.zip. So I have my PSP folder up here, but we're going to extract our Ark4 folder. And inside are a crap ton of folders. And this can look a little overwhelming at first, so we're going to try to make this as simple as possible. But anyway, the first thing we're going to do is move the Ark_ numbered folder here into PSP Save data. Perfect. Now we're going to go ahead and back out a folder here and go into our game folder on our PSP. And we're going to add the Ark loader folder into this. Now, still inside that PSP game folder, if you updated your PSP, you already have an update folder. If you haven't, create an update folder now. And then go ahead and open this up, and we could delete the original update we had in here if you updated your system originally. Now, inside our Ark4 download folder, go into the PSP folder, and you'll see Infinity folder here. Inside this, you'll see two e-boots, one for the original PSP models and one for the PSP Go. Choose which one you need. So for me, I need a regular e-boot one. If you're using a PSP Go, you're going to grab this one. But just drag that into the update folder on your PSP's memory stick. Now, if you're using a PSP Go and you copied it over the eboot_go, you need to rename this to just straight eboot.pbp so it looks just like you see right here. And with all these folders in place, you can just go ahead and close out of everything on the computer side of things. And back over on your PSP, you can disconnect it from PC mode. Now from here, you're able to load up custom firmware by going over to your game folder, memory stick, and running the Ark loader program. Now this isn't permanent custom firmware, this is something you have to enable every time you load up the PSP, which is why we put Infinity on here as well. But you can see that it's loading up the Ark stuff. And when finished, you're brought back to the PSP XMB here. And you can confirm that you have custom firmware enabled by holding down select for a couple seconds and then letting go, and you'll see that you have a VSH menu that you can then activate things on. So perfect, that is good to go. But again, this is a temporary solution because if you power down the PSP completely, not just put it in sleep mode, and then reboot it, you'll see that you no longer have access to that VSH menu, and you just need to run the Ark loader program once again to get that running. Now, if you want to have permanent custom firmware upon booting up your PSP, go ahead and restart your PSP so Ark4 isn't loaded. Head down into your memory stick option and launch Infinity 2. So if your Infinity 2 isn't showing up in here like it is for me, make sure that your update folder is named in all caps and that you have the eboot.pbp placed correctly. But just go ahead and launch into Infinity 2. And that'll bring us into the Infinity install menu. So from here, just press cross and it will begin installation. Press X to reboot when completed. And once your PSP is finished rebooting, head back down to the memory stick option and launch into Infinity 2 once again. Now, if for whatever reason Infinity 2 will not boot up, it just kind of crashes your PSP, you may need to run Ark Loader one more time first and then load into Infinity 2. But try launching Infinity 2 by itself first, and if it doesn't work, again, try loading Ark Loader first and then do it. Once Infinity has loaded up again, go ahead and press left, and then press cross on Ark Custom Firmware. Now just go ahead and return home, and press cross to exit. And then from here, just go ahead and run the Ark Loader app one more time to finalize the auto boot process. And all set. So now, if you fully turn off your PSP, again, you can verify custom firmware with the VSH menu. Sorry for the crappy zoom levels. But now, anytime you boot up your PSP or PSP Go, that custom firmware is going to be enabled by default. So again, you can confirm by holding down select and see if the VSH menu shows up, and there it is. So now, anytime we boot up our PSP, it is in custom firmware. But now that you have the auto boot enabled, it's really easy to keep your Ark4 installation updated if you have your PSP connected to a Wi-Fi network. You can just head up to the Ark4 updater, go into it, and then update via the internet like you would a normal PSP system update. It's very straightforward, really nice and convenient. But with that all said, you are now able to enjoy a custom firmware PSP to its fullest extent. So If you have previously backed up games or come by them by some other manner and wish to play them on your actual PSP, let me show you how to do that real quick. So head into your USB connection and enable it. Once you have your PSP opened up on your computer, just go ahead and make a new folder in here and name it ISO. And from here you can begin dragging in PSP games in ISO or CSO formats. So I'm going to grab Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions, and we're going to copy that over to the PSP to run directly from the memory stick. Now that that file transfer is completed, I'm just going to go ahead and close out of USB mode on the PSP. Now on the PSP, if you head over to your Game tab here, head down to the memory stick, you will see that you now have your games on the memory stick, and you can just launch them with Cross. And there we go, Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions running directly from our internal memory stick. See, there's no UMD in there. And perfect. So there you have it, the easy process to hack your PSP to run the Ark4 custom firmware. With this, you're able to enjoy games from your memory stick, as well as the wealth of homebrew that the PSP community has provided over the last 20 years. Not to mention other things like plugins, cheats, and all kinds of assorted stuff. Like, there's just so much. But thank you so much as always for watching today's video. I hope it helps you get your PSP up and running with custom firmware with relative ease. But here at the end, the usual favors to ask. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to hit that thumbs up, thumbs down, depending on how much you like today's tutorial, as well as that sub button notification bell so you can see when new videos go live on the channel. Loads of content always coming your way, and I'd love to have each and every one of you along for the ride. For anyone interested in further helping support the channel, you can also check out that join button here on YouTube or the Patreon link in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. Every little bit helps keep this place going and bringing this content directly to you. Big shout out to all of our current backers. Thank you again as always for believing in what we do here and helping us keep it going. Just amazing champs. But until next time, my wonderful internet peeps, you all stay awesome, keep on gaming, and we'll see you back next video.